On the line from Philadelphia, folks, is one of the more prominent players in the world of boxing, but he's sort of been under the radar. But lately, he's been coming above the radar because his guys have been pulling off big wins. I'm talking about Bernard Hopkins beating Kelly Pavlik, and was an upset as far as the odds makers were concerned, of course. And then he followed up in January when Shane Mosley should have been arrested for domestic violence after the beating he put on Antonio Margarito. Was such a beatdown. Anyway, his name is Nazim Richardson, sir, and we welcome you to the show. How are you today, sir?
I'm holding on with both hands, man. How you doing out there?
I'm doing just fine out here in California. Of course, you're in Philly. How's life in Philly? They got any fights at the Spectrum? Has the Spectrum been torn down or what?
No, they're not doing a lot of fights at the Spectrum anymore. Most of the spots are a new place called the Arena.
Okay.
It was once called the Alhambra. They call it the Arena now.
All right. Now, what I want to get you on the show, people have been dying to talk to you about, and you probably had to tell this story 1,000 times, like that guy that landed the airplane in the Hudson River. What happened the night that Antonio Margarito, you went into his dressing room and watched his hands get wrapped? Can you take us through that?
Well, what actually happened when they referred to him rewrapping his hands 3 times, that was because of the amount of tape he was putting directly on his skin. Before any gauze or anything, he was wrapping an enormous amount of tape directly on his skin, on his hands, around his thumb, and down his wrist. And I told him that, based on the rules of California, I said that was illegal. So they went to tell me how he had a previous injury. And I was like, well, that has nothing to do with the rules, man, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So finally I got him to bring the commissioner. That's how the commissioner originally was called into the room.
Okay. Now, what about this plaster of Paris or this powder that they put on the hand wraps and they sprayed it with water, or when it got damp and it got hard? Where did all this come into play?
No, that's what everybody's just taking it into another direction. What had happened was he had cushions that he puts on his knuckles as they wrap in their hands. So when they went to put the cushion on, they had it on one hand already. And I thought the commissioner had checked it, but I didn't see him. So I asked him, I said, listen, I want to check that cushion. So they allowed me to touch the cushion. I said, yo, this is pretty hard. So I asked the deputy commissioner to feel it, and I said, this is hard. He said, it feels okay to me. I said, well, it doesn't feel all right to me. So I went to the commissioner, and he came in, and he checked it. He said, yeah, that is pretty hard. Then they peeled it open, and down in the middle, he had a square block of old gauze wrapped with plaster on it. And when I took it out and I let the doctor see it, the doctor said, this is the same stuff we use in the hospital to make casts.
So right then and there, he probably should have been arrested by the police, let alone allowed to go out and fight. Don't you think?
I refused to give the blocks. I told them I want the other hand unwrapped. They said, we approved this hand already. I said, well, y'all want to wait till the fight is over, and then we check the hand and we find out it's on there? So the commissioner said, you're right. He said, unwrap the other hand. When they unwrapped the other hand, they found another block. I refused to give the block to the commissioner. I said, I called Shane Mosley's lawyer over here. Mm-hmm. I said, I'm only releasing them to his lawyer. So his lawyer came over, and I gave the block to his lawyer because I didn't know what the procedure was then, but I felt the same way. That I said, this sport of ours is dangerous enough as it is when you follow the rules. Going outside the rules, it could become fatal.
Good enough. You're tuned to Ring Talk Live Worldwide. Nazim Richardson is a man that went and exposed Antonio Margarito for having these hand wraps that were cheats, blocks, a cat plaster, call them what you want in his hand wraps. Do you think that's what led to the busting up of Miguel Cotto? Because, Miguel Cotto in the first 4 or 5 rounds, he was doing okay. But then once he started getting hit, he got busted up like instantly.
Well, I looked at it myself, and I said, I couldn't call because I don't know for sure if he had him then. You know what I mean? So we can only speculate. But my thing was the way they're in the padding, the impact on the gloves as the rounds would go on would get you further down closer to the plaster. So later you might be punching harder than you actually were punching earlier. So that could be the case, but I don't know. I can't say it for sure. Okay. Like I say, I tell people they don't realize it's a black guy on boxing all together. You know what I mean? We're all under the same umbrella. We're all from the same fraternity. So I hate to see anything negative like this come to boxing, me being a part of boxing myself.
Well, thank God that you were sharp enough and astute enough to figure this out, man, because Shane might have taken a horrific pounding from these hand wraps. Although I'll tell you what, the way Shane boxed Antonio Margarito that night, he could have wore just the hand wraps. I don't think he would have hit Shane in the ass if he had a ping pong paddle. He just couldn't do it. Shane took him right out of his game from the get-go. Was it that body shot in the first round that sort of like told Margarito, hey, man, you in trouble tonight?
Well, I don't know what actually set the tone. I know how well we had the athlete prepared. And my thing was, I told Shane coming into the camp, I said, the people who doubt us, we can't do anything about. I said, my goal in this camp, when we finish this project, is the people who felt like we're going to win the fight, I want them to be shocked by the way you win this fight.
Yeah.
So the game plan we had was that I felt as I was going to draw up a game plan where as though if I had an average guy off the streets, I could have gave Margarito some problems. So I figured if I had an exceptional guy like Shane, all intentions was to knock Margarito out. Okay,
what, is Shane and Cotto in the future here or what?
Shane was interested in Cotto. In my opinion, I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him if Pacquiao was victorious in the Hatton fight. I'd like to see Shane and Pacquiao.
Okay, in the same. Go on, sir. I'm sorry.
No, I feel like Shane has earned the super fights. He deserves the super fights now.
I think you got a hell of a point there. I want to congratulate you for being the on-the-job man that you are, man, and the success you had of late. I hope it's continued.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it, man. Like I said, when I went through that with Margarito, when they saw hooting and hollering in the dressing room, I've been through the same thing before with
Hopkins and Trinidad.
With Trinidad camp, the same thing years ago.
Good
and
enough.
I told them, man, I raised a lot of my sons and nephews in this sport, so I got like that kind of fatherly figure with all my athletes. So I want to protect them at all costs.
Well, the protector you are, my brother. I'll talk to you real soon. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Nazim Richardson, folks.